when I started the company, I was very interested in technology, how I could use it to streamline my operations. So I decided that I was going to do webinars. So I was like, okay, webinars, what are some of the good webinar platforms out there? I settled on Eventbrite. And in 2018, because we had the recession in 08, we didn't really come out of that until 10 or 11. So we were 7, 8 years into an expansion. And as an econ major, I know that the economy moves in cycles. So I decided, okay, so because I know that we are due for a recession, and because everybody should know this, I decided to articulate my presentations on insurance planning on the one hand and recession planning, recession prepping. And so the insurance stuff got a little bit of traction because I had articulated it around me too.
Okay.
But the recession one, nobody was interested. So I would do webinars and I'd have multiple no-shows, or 1 or 2 people would show up, and then you follow up with them and they go, the economy is doing really well. I'm like, this is my point. It's not going to stay that way. But
yeah. So
none of this really worked. I kept doing them because even though it did not achieve the level of success that I wanted, I was able to establish relationships and get clients, but it was quite the struggle. And then COVID hit.
So sorry, so just before we go there, so every single week you're going on, you're picking a topic, you're doing all the work necessary to plan it for a lot of people to show up, and sometimes nobody shows up.
Oh, yeah, I got so many no-shows. What happened is that I'm a gamer. So when I get a no-show, I'm like, okay, you know, I had already blocked out this hour. I just turn everything off. I turn on my PlayStation and I play for the rest of the hour, and then I go back to work. I cannot let things, I cannot be bogged down by things like that. No, I have zero control over this.
And like, how are you promoting it? Because at the end of the day, how do you get to, I asked the question at the beginning, were you promoting this to 14,000, or were you just using Eventbrite, or did you have a list?
I was not promoting this to 14,000. And that's where the pandemic really plays a big part. Because I was doing these, I was promoting them on Eventbrite. I had the newsletter, but I wasn't publishing it on a regular basis. I typically would, and I hate this, I would typically pick up the phone and call business owners and invite them to presentations. And I was, in that way, I was able to get my list to about 700-800 people.
Okay. Over 2 years, like it took you like 2 years.
Yeah, because my list was whoever attended, whoever registered to attend, because that's how I captured the email addresses.
Okay, so you'd call them down, like literally like 20, 30, 40 dials, whatever it took, and just be like, hey.
I'm calling to invite to my webinar because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have the budget to have like postcard invitations going out or anything like that. I had a subscription with a company called Phone Burner that allowed me to call them, to call the people. It's not a robocall service because I hate robocalls. So I was dialing in individually, hi, can I speak to such and such? And then if I'm transferred, introducing myself and introducing my topic and asking if they would be interested in attending. Oh yeah, send me an invitation. I sent an invitation, and it was like that. It was a grueling process.
So 2 years, basically got like one person a day on average added to your list.
Roughly, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because even if you call, let's say you call 50, 60 people, even 100 people, and then you get, let's say you get a third of them to say, all right, send me an invitation. If you send invitations to 30 something people to come to an event, you'll be lucky if you get 5 or 6 of them to actually follow up and sign up. So if you're doing an event like that, you're doing one every week, there's your number right here. There's your average.
Wow. Okay, so you start doing this, you got 700, you're really advertising mainly on Eventbrite.
Yeah.
And I've got the
So,
screenshot. Yeah, so these are your topics. So you
yeah.
said you picked your topics based on the recession, based on what was going on. Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about what you did, like in terms of 2 years of just doing webinars?
So 2 years of doing webinars, I had one about the workplace, employee retention. I had one about Me Too. I had one about the recession. I had one about cash flow, and that was just about it. But the pandemic, again, the pandemic hit, right? So because I used to be a loan officer and I had always kept up with, even when I came here, I was working in the insurance business, but I had a lot of contacts in the banking industry because I had at one point tried to develop some partnerships with banks, not knowing at the time that almost all of them had their own insurance subsidiaries. Like I said, mostly error. So when the pandemic hit, I was able to leverage my familiarity with SBA products to deliver presentations on the IDLE and the PPP. And this is when my list really blew up, because that was the point in time where business owners were actively looking for information. And what also helped is that the guidance was changing on an almost daily basis.